Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Hope you guys are doing well today and trying to stay cool. Looking at the weather, man, looks like there is a ton of this country that is under some oppressive heat today. So be smart. Have some good habits when it comes to working and training in this kind of heat. So, what are your habits that you have for the summer? It takes me a few days to realize I need to add some new habits whenever I start training like this. So if I'm training in the morning and at the end of that workout, I'm wringing out sweat from my shirt, I can feel my feet squishing with sweat in my shoes. Yeah, that is gross, but it also should tell you not only do you need to eat your normal breakfast for workout recovery, you need to add more water and you need to add electrolytes, especially if you're sweating like that. Because I tell you, a couple of times over the years before I started creating these habits, I would come home after one of those workouts, hydrate, no problem, and eat my breakfast, protein up, carb up, get ready for the next workout. That's a swim workout later in the day. And then I'm still like just laying around. I can't think well. I'm just laying on the couch, very lethargic, just tired. And I'm realized, oh man, I forgot electrolytes. And as soon as I get some electrolytes in me, 100%, whether that is through this or just added salt on your food, get a can of chicken noodle soup. Tell you that works really well for me. I have probably a dozen cans of chicken noodle soup just in case I need some. Just want to make sure I have it. But that has been very helpful, and within 5-10 minutes, 100%. So those are the kind of habits I'm talking about, and that's just some of them. So let's break this down into pre, during, and post training habits. So before I go train, I hydrate, get a little electrolytes, eat a banana. That's good carbs and electrolytes in there. Nothing too crazy. I don't like eating a lot before I work out, but I bring stuff with me. So I bring water bottles. I bring some electrolyte pouches. Bring some fruit just in case I start bonking, because we do a lot of high rep stuff in the summer, and you can lower your blood sugar real quick with that. Um, and I bring a extra shirt because nothing worse than uh, being full body sweat and getting in your car and sitting in your seat, just knowing it's just soaking up all that sweat. If you have leather seats, it's okay. You can wipe it down. But if you don't, it's gross. And, so I bring an extra pair of shorts and an extra shirt. I usually don't bring an extra pair of socks because I've only lived like 5 minutes away. So it's an easy drive. But if I had to make a longer drive, I'd probably change my socks or at least go barefoot, let my feet air out, things like that. So that's just dealing with preparing for what's to come, because when you sweat that much, you need to prepare for just the little things like an extra shirt and the big things like extra water and electrolytes. If you don't have those, your workout's probably going to be cut in half and you're going to feel like crap and could be dangerous. Now, during the workout, hydrating, trying to cool down. I got cold bottles of water in my hand. I posted today on my Instagram some pictures of us using the Cool Mitt. I don't know if you've seen the Cool Mitt, but it's an interesting piece of technology that I've been lucky enough to have been involved in its development in a very small way. I was just a guinea pig. I wasn't a developer. Um, So I know these guys. They gave me one. It's really expensive, but it's very useful. It's more. I think it'd be probably more geared towards teams, right? Whenever they're training hard, you can afford, with a team of people. Um, but it's called the Cool Mitt, and we used it today. I liked it. definitely. I could definitely feel it. In between sets, just take a 3 minute cool break with cold water on your hands or cold, the cold packs on your hands. So that's another thing. Try to find shade, especially if you're working out outdoors, as much as you can. Sunscreen. I mean, just little things like that can make a big difference on how you feel in secondary workouts and workouts the following day as well. Afterwards, once again, full regular nutrition, hydration. You got to add more water. And I think you should weigh yourself. Forgot about this one. You should weigh yourself um, before you start training, and then weigh yourself afterwards. With not with the same sweaty clothes on, but dry, and just see if you lost some weight. A lot of times you can lose. I usually lose 4 or 5 pounds. Whenever you're sweating profusely like that. So you got to be drinking water. Make sure that loss is a little bit less. And then if you lose up to 2% of your body weight, it starts getting dangerous and you need to resupply. Um, and the going rate is this: every pound you lose, you need to add 20 ounces of water. Saw that the other day. I'm not sure how backed that is with science, but it was in a study and they made that recommendation. So it wasn't specifically on that topic, but it was a recommendation within a study. So anyway, um, but yeah, that's what we do. Make sure you got electrolytes afterwards too, because it's going to make the difference in how you recover for the next day. Because I will tell you, if you don't get those electrolytes, you'll probably bend over, tie in your shoe, catch a stomach cramp. You'll be really susceptible to cramping if you're running or swimming. That's sometimes we see it after sweating profusely on land for an hour, hour and a half, and then we go into the pool and half the group's cramping before while they're swimming. So those are the types of things that you can prevent by just staying on top of your hydration and electrolytes. So I always say this because it's very important. Um, People die from heat stroke, so you don't want to let it go crazy, um, and not be prepared to be able to cool yourself quickly. But more importantly, or I shouldn't say more importantly, just as important, it comes down to your performance, your recovery. When you have tight muscles that are cramping and you try to do something on them, sometimes that is a recipe for pulling muscles. I've seen calf cramps turn into Achilles pulls. In fact, I think in the um, last basketball game, Game 7, there was a guy with a calf injury, tight calf, and that turned into an injury. Turned into Achilles tear. He's out for a year. Um, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. But anyway, those are types of things that you need to pay attention to. If you go into a workout and you've done none of those things, chances are your workout's going to be a little sucky, and it could get really bad with people getting hurt or you getting hurt, um, well beyond your performance. All right, so there's my warm up. As you guys congregate, we're going to show some CSS videos today. Had some good submissions and some good local guys making some progress. But we'll take a few questions before I open up those videos. So, do you have any tips for getting through BCT I-Day? As tomorrow I start U.S. Air Force Academy. No, I mean, you're going to be fed a ton of information all at once. So it is designed to be stressful, mentally, short term memory wise, time management, physical fitness. It's not horrible at the academies, but if you're not conditioned for it, it can be. So hopefully you've done your job with your preparation and you're prepared. I tell you what, if you're going to Air Force Academy, here's one thing that you're just going to have to suck up for a week, maybe probably 10 days, maybe, is getting used to that altitude up there. So if you're growing up at sea level and now you're at, what is it, mile high up there, um, it's going to suck. I remember playing rugby at the Air Force Academy when we would go visit, and we would double, triple up our cardio like 10 days before just to be ready for that kind of, just get used to the lower oxygen and increased carbon dioxide your body puts out, and making that transition. So yeah, the biggest thing is just be in receive mode, listen to what they're teaching you, and then be able to regurgitate that back and demonstrate it as best you can. That's And then help your buddies. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. It does require teamwork, and you're going to be forced to work together. Don't be, a solo guy in that group. Help everybody out that's having a hard time. And I tell you what, if you start worrying about other people within your squad or just caring about them, you you think a lot less of your internal emotions going on, like you're being homesick or you miss your girlfriend, or this sucks. I could be at a party on the 4th of July hanging out. I remember that one. That one I was a little beat up. I was thinking what my buddies were doing on the 4th of July. So you can't go there. Um, but yeah, good luck. We got a bunch of guys going to the academy. West Point Air Force Academy here trains with us, and I tell them the exact same thing. So if we don't have a beach near us to run, would just running in our boots through the woods or something also be good? Just getting used to them running in them. I mean, I would run in tennis shoes and boots a little bit, but be honest with you, nowadays the boots, especially the boots they issue at Buds, they're made by Nike. They're running shoes basically. So you don't have to spend a lot of time breaking them in. They may feel a little weird around the ankles. Sometimes the heel gets a little hard. You might have to cut out that plastic piece of the heel. I did recently. But if you don't have a beach, there's a couple different options. My advice is especially if you're getting ready for Buds, my advice is to run hills, up and down hills. We use the regular paved hill. Um, we found a quarter-mile hill that's just, man, it's brutal on your lungs and your legs, and it's just a good workout. You can also, if you don't have hills, you can also find parking garages and run your way all the way up to the top, run the stairs. It's kind of up to you how you want to do that. You could do stair stepper machine with a weight vest. That's a big one for your legs. In fact, I wrote an article on that one. If you Google the term stair stepper, special ops, Stu Smith, put that in the Google machine, and you'll see an article I wrote called, "For those looking to join Spec Ops, weighted stair steps are a useful tool." I'll put that link here. Probably you won't be able to click it over here on Instagram, but you can over here on YouTube and Facebook, and just Google it. You'll find it. That works pretty good. Something I used to do when I was pre-Buds candidate is I grew up in Florida, but I was like 80 miles from the beach, so it didn't make any sense to drive to the beach. I did a couple of times, but we had this river that would dry up in the summer, and I would run the soft sand beach of that river. Um, that worked. And then also had a friend who had a farm, and there was he had a plowed field, and I asked his dad if I could just run the perimeter of his field where there's no crops planted, and it was soft enough dirt um, that made a difference. It was a little tough because you didn't want to twist your ankle on some of that stuff, so it wasn't ideal, but it was something I tried a few times. But those options will give you plenty of ideas. All right, Patrick says, "Hey, I just bought your calisthenics and cardio. Navy PST Phase 1. Is the calisthenics cardio book supposed to be followed before the Navy PST if I'm a beginner?" No. I would do the calisthenics and cardio first because there is a beginner, intermediate, and advanced workout. And I will tell you what, I've had people go through that whole calisthenics and cardio and actually do really well on that PST because that advanced section is basically a PST prep. I mean, it's squats and lunges for running, it's swimming, it's mobility days, it's pull-ups, push-ups, dips, sit-ups, all of those things that are going to help you with the PST. It's a good preparation for the PST. And then, once you get through that, you hit that Navy PST Phase 1 and you won't have to worry about the PST anymore. That's the thing. You want to get to a point in your training where the PST is not a gut check. You could pass the PST even on a bad day. You could pass the PST and quite competitively, I should say, even after a workout, later in the day, take that PST. We have guys doing that all the time. In fact, a lot of them will say, no need to waste a workout on a PST. Now, they're a little more confident because they've passed their first one, they've gotten contracts, they're just on their fourth, fifth, or sixth one before they ship. And nowadays, it behooves you to crush that PST because if you crush it and get their advanced scores, you get a $25,000 signing bonus if you finish buds. Or can't remember how it comes out. I think you get little chunks throughout your journey, but that's nothing. I mean, that's not nothing. It's well worth your time to actually crush that PST, and it just puts you in good stead for everything else. And then give yourself a little more time to actually get through buds by focusing on buds events. So it goes from PST to 4-mile runs and 2-mile swims with fins and rucking and load bearing activities. And you go crush it. So give yourself some time to be able to do that. But that's how you do it. That's the evolution. C Ray, what's up, buddy? What's your opinion of SWIC operators, and do you think it's a fulfilling job? I know many guys that are SWIC. We've had guys that solely want to join SWIC, and they love their job. They love shooting guns off a boat and doing cool stuff like that. And got some medics in that world as well. So, SWIC has a long history. I mean, SWIC was not called SWIC back in Vietnam. It was kind of the brown water Navy, and then it was special boat units. But what SWIC did was it took special boat units, which would pull from the surface fleet, and you would do a tour in special boats. You'd be on a ship, regular Navy ship, and then you would come to special boat units, go through a little bit of training, drive the boats. It wasn't like a selection. Now it's a closed community. So you go through a selection, you learn how to drive these boats, and that's all you do. You focus on these boats versus have to go back out to the fleet and then, try to get back. I've seen that was the old days. Now it's a job, and it is part of special warfare that does a very important piece of those missions. Let's see here. All right, other questions. I'm going to show some videos here in a minute. I'll take this question first. How far should I do chest carries with a sandbag in between PT pyramid sets. I have shin splints, been trying to get creative in keeping my cardio up. That's a great one. I like that one. We've had a guy that had some stress fractures, and he would do, if we were doing like a Murph, he would add in chest carry lunges, just walking. Nothing too crazy. My advice would be do this. Because normally when we do a PT pyramid, I'll throw in like 400 meters every set. So if you're doing a 110 to 1, you got 19 400-meter runs you're doing as your rest in between those sets. So you get almost 5 miles of running just through that pyramid. It's a it's a great cardio workout mixed with muscle stamina. In fact, we're doing one this week. Did one today. But my advice would be this: however long it takes you to run 400 normally, that's how long you carry that chest carry. Does that make sense? So 2 minutes, minute and a half, 2 minutes, that's all you need to do. Just walk with it. If I'm doing weighted stair stepper for the first time, what weight should I start with? Good question. We usually start off with 25 pound, like you're doing body armor type weight, so a plate carrier. But as you progress, those guys get up to 40, 50 pounds. But I would progress up to that, maybe add 5 pounds a week, and just do those stair steppers on leg days. Don't do them, 5 days a week. You're participating in any of the summer camps with the kids? My son's at SEAL Elite Wrestling Camp. He's loving it. Just did boat carries this morning. Yeah, those guys get after it, man. It's they get log PT. They're tough, man. Those little wrestlers are tough. But I will tell you this: it's like herding cats teaching that group how to swim. Over the years, I've done swim coaching, and if I were to say, if there's 100 people there, maybe 2 of them could swim well. Everybody else is just wrestling the water. So that's why I always say, if you are a wrestler who can swim, you have a really good chance of getting through SEAL training. But that if you can swim is a big if. It takes me a little bit longer to teach a wrestler how to swim than just about any other athlete. Sometimes football players. But at this point, I'm not doing anything over there. I haven't been asked. Some years I'm asked, some years, they forget me. Where do you recommend buying weight vests for your power walks, weighted stair steppers? Well, I would go to eBay. If you want an affordable weight vest, maybe it's used, who cares? You'll find one on eBay. I probably bought 3 weight vests on eBay since eBay's been operational as an option. Bought some from weightvest.com if you want to spend a little money on it. Those are great as well. So, all right. So I am going to share some screen time with some swimming. And we're going to talk about let me make sure you guys can see this. All right, so you guys see this. Let's see what we got here. So we got a kick off the wall, little dolphin kick, top arm, bottom arm kick, little dolphin kick with that top arm. My advice is this: I don't think this extra kick is needed. If you notice, it's really not doing anything. Maybe it's a rhythm thing, with your top arm, but it's also a lot of extra work. So, especially if you're doing a 500. That's a great kickoff. I don't think you need 2 dolphin kicks, maybe just 1. I'm being very nitpicky here because this is he's probably swimming sub 8 already if he's in shape. If he can do this 9 more times, he's swimming sub 8. But I think if you're getting winded, it's probably from those dolphin kicks right there. So my advice is try another 50 without the dolphin kick and just see where your time is. If it's 46, 47, 48, and you feel a lot less tired, that's a win. I I don't think this extra kick, whether you're dolphin kicking or flutter kicking in between your scissor kick, I will say this too. You could do a little better with that top arm pull, because notice what's happening. See, when you're leading with this elbow here, you don't want to do that. You want to lead with your forearm. So your hand and forearm need to be more vertical right there. You're missing out on some water way up here. If you can get your hand vertical in the water above your head, then pull all of that and push it behind you, you got yourself a really good freestyle catch. That's what that top arm needs to be. So freestyle catch, and I guarantee you won't need that extra dolphin kick. And the freestyle catch is no big deal. I mean, it's going to help you swim faster. So my advice for this guy, take out the dolphin kick and do a freestyle catch on that top arm pull, and maybe recover a little tighter here, because that was a little loose. What I mean by that is if your hands are this far away from your torso whenever you're swimming and trying to recover over your head, you're just like putting on the brake. So everything should be touching like this. Kick it up like that. Good swim though. I mean, like I said, I'm being very nitpicky on that one. So let me share another one. Sorry, should have just went right into it. All right, so what we got here? Okay, you hit play. See this? All right, good. Turn that off. All right, so this is a 54-second. Now that is a good kickoff. I like that kickoff. Okay, so way over gliding here. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4, yeah. And you're gliding there too. So you see this section right here? I mean, I can't, maybe make this bigger. All right, so let me go back here. A couple things going on here. So you see there's a glide here, right? That doesn't need to be. You need to pull that second arm in quicker versus just kind of hanging out there, right? It's not very efficient for a glide time anyway. So you should be pulling that bottom arm to speed up that inhale part. So turn your head, get your face out of the water with the top arm, breathe with the bottom arm, and then hold the glide here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Pull on 3, don't pull on 4. I think you're losing too much momentum every stroke. And at 54 seconds and this type of streamline, you got a great streamline glide position. You're just over gliding and losing momentum, which is slowing you down. I guarantee you, if you pull on 3 and not go to 4, you'll be sub 50 with that little 1 second glide time less, and you'll be 50 seconds easy. Guarantee it. So that's some good coaching right there, by the way. I mean, that just taking out that 1 second glide per stroke and making it a 3 second glide, 2 to 3 second glide, is going to speed you up in a way that is what you're looking for. And it's still efficient. You're not under gliding and you're not over gliding. Seen both ways. All right, let's see what we got here. Next one is, all right, let's see how this one looks. Oops. All right, I'll share this screen here.
Good. Hold the glide. Remember me yelling glide to you?
All right, so let's see what we got here. So kicks off the wall. That's smooth. Double arm pull. That's smooth. That's optional. You don't need to do that double arm pull. But if you're this good at the double arm pull, that's great. Now you can see, I can tell this guy's a swimmer because, he's pretty fast. I think he's swimming sub 8 already. But this is a typical swimmer CSS where there's just no glide at all. They're so comfortable in the water. Their water conditioning solid that they don't need to glide. But I still don't recommend it, because when you're doing, in fact, let's count strokes here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He should be all the way across now. 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's no reason why a swimmer should have almost double digits on the CSS. You should be 4 or 5 strokes underwater, or not underwater, to get across a 25-yard pool. So top arm turn, bottom arm breathe, hold that glide. So I think he learns to hold the glide here, right? One Mississippi, two, no, not quite. One Mississippi. Okay, so this was his first one. I coached him a little bit on the second one, and he was able to do really well um, and keep the same pace. So that's what was the cool part about it. He's able to keep the same pace with it. All right, so let me. What is the heck wrong? Can't get out of here. Okay, so get back to my chat. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry. All right, next one. I don't think it's the same guy. Oh, it is same guy. Okay, good. All right, so let me share my screen again. Sorry about this. Boom. Share my screen. Now, the funny thing about this one is, yes, he's a good swimmer, um, but he didn't really keep the um, the glide until the end. So he's like, I told him, I say, hey, this is the second time I talked to him, so he still does the double arm pull, which is cool. I mean, he gets almost halfway across the pool with it. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide, and he doesn't hold the glide. So he doesn't hold the glide here. Still, there's 4 strokes, 5. He's getting a little better, but he's down to 6. So now, some reason he kicks in his little glide time. I think because I'm yelling at him. Um, glide, glide, hold the glide, and he kicks it right here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. That's the perfect glide. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. That's what it should look like, right? Just hold that extra glide, and you notice he gets a body length by holding it for 2-3 seconds, because he's swimming a yard per second or faster. So if you just hold that glide and not lose your momentum, right now he's wasting momentum because that kick could glide him another body length before he needed to start the next stroke. And if you don't think that's a big deal, it is a big deal, because um, what happens is, it's not over with a 500-yard swim. You got pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a 1.5 mile run. And if you're not really good at those and you've been working hard to improve them, that swim can take away all that work on test day. So you need to get used to training after swimming, for one, but also need to get efficient with your swimming to make the rest of that test work out real good. So Patrick responds, yeah, I tried the Navy PST book and it was a mistake as a beginner. Yeah, I would say that. Cals and cardio is a good place to start. And be honest with you, the beginner section may be too easy. I define beginner by someone who doesn't work out at all, right? And it's a very beginner process, or hasn't worked out in decades. So the intermediate option for you, Patrick, may be um, a better play with that calisthenics and cardio book. Then do the advanced, then go PST. Do you recommend following your seasonal book or PST prep for second class screener? Good question. I have over a year to prepare and I want to focus more on cardio. Both. Because like right now, it's no big deal. Over the summer, you can crush that PST between now and the fall. If you're not doing the fall screener, you're doing the spring screener. I guess that's less than over a year. Maybe you're third class. So Yes, do both. But I would do PST, crush the PST, because once you crush that PST, you're just in better shape to be able to handle this one, because this one will have all those crappy things that you're going to do at a screener or buds itself. You're going to be doing log PT simulation, you're going to be doing rucking, um, you're going to be bear crawling, fireman carrying, lunging, all those things on top of PST scores and all the other stuff that you're going to do. So, swimming with fins, treading, pool skills, all that. So it's kind of built in to get you through that one. So I would do both. Start with phase 1 and then go to phase 2, 3. Met some sailors, want to introduce you to, we'll be in touch. Yeah, sure, bring them my way. Got a whole bunch of guys out there training with us right now. Let's see. Okay, sorry, Zarius. I missed your question. For a guy going Navy diver, should I be starting with calisthenics and cardio, then go into phase 1 book, or start with phase 1? Well, it depends. It really kind of depends on your fitness level. We've had this discussion with Patrick, and um, if you are a beginner, you may not be able to handle phase 1 yet, right? Like, for instance, if you can't pass a PST or you've never taken a PST and you don't know what the PST is, I wouldn't recommend starting here yet. I mean, it's a good place to start, but if you're like right at that point of you're taking the PST but failing, maybe can't quite finish the 500, this is a good one. But if you're really truly beginning this process, let's say you're an athlete and you're trying to become a tactical athlete and take this PST, I'd probably start with calisthenics and cardio first. But here's the thing, Navy diver, still tough training. And where your preparation is going to pay off is in the pool. Lots of pool skills, treading, under overs, PT on the pool deck, swim in the middle. I mean, all of those things have to be practiced, and it's in these programs as well. All right, looks like I've answered all the question. Damn, elevation at Air Force Academy, 7,000 feet. Whew. Yeah, that's tough. Now, is that the highest elevation? Because I know there's mountains out there. Like, because I always told it was 5,000, and then the mountains out there can get you up another 1,000 or two. So, that is that the highest elevation out there, or is that's my question. We prepared for like like 5,000, 5,500, somewhere around there, mile, and like Mile High is in Denver, Mile High Stadium, right? Not far away is Colorado Springs. Maybe it's up a little higher. Um, what would you recommend as far as training to get 930 on the mile and a half at the end of the PST? My advice is mix in calisthenics with your running. So you get used to running after doing calisthenics and even swim too if you want. So you got to kind of get used to the PST by setting up your workout similar to a PST. Now, a lot of times I just can't do that because we swim last, because when we start working out for our schedule, there's a swim team in our pool, so we swim last. So sometimes it doesn't really work out for us. However, in the afternoons when we swim with another group, we could do it perfectly there. In fact, we do that quite often in the afternoon. Swim first, calisthenics second, run last. And it's either in the actual PST or it's part of the workout design where we swim 500 timed and we do another 1,000 just to kind of get some swim shape in. And then we hop out and go do PT pyramid mixed with running every set, top it off with a mile and a half. I promise you that will get you in shape for a PST. But you also need to practice your goal pace if you want a 9:30. I think where a lot of people screw up on their running is they just start running with no particular pace in mind, and they either start off too fast or they start off too slow. Um, and they can't maintain that pace if they started off too fast. They can't catch up if they started too slow. So my advice is this: if you want a 9:30, run a quarter mile in a minute 35. Right? That will give you a 9:30 pace. So a minute 30 every time you run a lap around a track, it's a minute 35. That's a 9:30 pace. Easy day. Right? If you're trying to run 2 laps and it's a half mile, now double it and you're going to be right at that 310 mark, somewhere between 3 and 310. Don't be 320 because you're already off pace. Be 310, right? Don't be 3 minutes because that's too fast. Be 310. So you muscle memory that pace. That's where the money's made on fitness testing, is actually know what your pace is. Know what it feels like to run a 9:30 mile and a half. Know what it feels like to run, what is that, a 6:10 mile, 6:12 mile? I don't know. Do the math. 6:20 mile, I think, guess it is. Yeah. So know what that feels like when you run a 6:20 mile. Um, how you're breathing, how your arm swing feels, how your feet feel hitting on the ground. All of those things are just ways to know without even looking at your watch if you're on a 9:30 mile and a half pace. So it takes practice. So that's why so many times I like to do goal pace running. I'll do some zone 2 too. I'll do some sprints and hills and things like that. But if you really want to master a PST, you got to mix in some goal pace and learn what that pace is. So sometimes we'll do 12 sets of 400s, focusing on exact pace, not sprints, not zone 2 slow stuff, focusing on that pace. Rest with a 100-yard walk. That's going to put it in that muscle memory tank for you. Nathaniel says, I sprained my ankle roughly a month ago, tried to keep swimming, but after a week or two, my ankle started killing me. Yeah, swimming and ankles hurt. I had to quit swimming for probably 3 weeks after an ankle sprain. And I sprain my ankles a lot. In fact, I got surgery on one. I sprained it so much. Any tips on how to get stronger ankles and heal faster to get back to training? Yeah, just let time take that ankle sprain away. You know, it's a little bit of inflammation that might be able to help out with some ice, but that inflammation is part of the healing process. It really comes down to ankle mobility after a sprain. So work on ankle mobility. You can work on calves and shins, and all those muscles are going to come across that ankle and make it a little more durable. Heel raises, toe raises, things like that. Get bands and work side to side, up and down. Um, yeah, I mean, my advice is go to YouTube and look up ankle strengthening exercises, physical therapy, and just follow some of their ideas to get really good ideas to do that. But from what I have seen, you need ankle mobility so your ankles don't hurt when you swim, right? Especially swimming with fins. That's next level. I mean, it's like ballerina ankle mobility. So you want another idea? Watch some ballet dancers work their ankle mobility. You're not going to get anywhere close to their level of ankle mobility, but some of those exercises can be very helpful in improving yours. And every time we do mobility day, I do this one exercise where we sit on our shins, put our butt on our heels, and then we lean back and you can hyper flex that ankle, because that's what the fin is doing to it. Whenever you're pushing forward, your fin is forcing that ankle to hyperflex, and you got to get used to that. Do you think average athleticism, is capable of running 6 minute mile? 28-minute 4 mile with proper physical mental training. Yes, I would think so. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Gary. You don't need to be an athlete to run 6 minute mile. You just need to be in good cardio conditioning. And anybody can be in good cardio conditioning. In fact, I've seen a lot of non athletes go on and be really good runners. Because running is one of those things that, yeah, you need to be an athlete too, but, you know, running is one of those just natural responses of being a human that if you develop it and get in good, cardiovascular shape, you can hit the 6 minute mile, 7 minute mile pace, no problem. Surgery time and physio healed my shoulder, so back in the training. Thanks for the advice. Oh, good. All right, where are we now? Looks like I have answered all the questions. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, sure did. If you got other ones, send them. If I missed your question, you can see it right down here. You can email me, stu@stewsmith.com. And if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Go to stewsmithfitness.com. Tons of articles over there, programming. You save 15% on programs like this by using the Live15 coupon code. And I appreciate you guys joining me today. I'll be back on Monday. I will be having a podcast that I bring up. In fact, this is a fun podcast because I got a PhD in nutrition coming to join me, Nick Barringer. I tag him a lot in my posts because if you don't follow him on Instagram, you should. Great stuff over there. He breaks down physiology studies to like grade school kids can understand it, which is a task that not many people can do. So I highly recommend getting smarter by going over to his Instagram, Nick Barringer, Barringer. I usually post stuff every day in my story of things that he makes. But anyway, he's going to be on, and we're going to talk about being a hard gainer. What does that mean, and how do you gain weight if you're having a hard time putting on weight as a teenager or someone in your early 20s, like most of us were? I mean, I remember being a hard gainer, just couldn't grow. And then all of a sudden, I hit a growth spurt, but I also figured out how to eat and how to work out and lift big and eat big, basically, but it wasn't all protein. So we're going to get into the physiology of a hard gainer and what makes that person able to gain weight when everybody else around them is not gaining weight, because most teenagers are hard gainers. You can eat whatever the hell you want, but you won't lose weight. Or, sorry, won't gain weight. All right. Okay, looks like we're done here. Oh, wait a second. One more. Nathaniel, I'll give you this one. What is the best PST scores you've seen from bigger guys over 220? Man, I have seen, we had this discussion yesterday, I think, but I've seen guys 220, even 230, do 30 pull ups, crush the push up sit ups too, no problem, 80 plus, 90 plus. And they could run 6 minute miles, not just for mile and a half, but for 3 miles. Because in the SEAL teams back when I was in, we had to swim 800 meters and run 3 miles and do pull ups, push ups, sit ups. And this guy was 230, cranked out 30 pull ups, run an 18-minute 3 mile, and just crushed everything else too. So I will say this: we had this one dude that was 220, took the PST with us, and he was a collegiate lacrosse player. But in high school, he ran cross country also. And let me tell you, this guy did not lose a single step with his running, even though he gained 50 pounds from high school. He weighed about 170, I think, in high school, and in college he was 220. College lacrosse player, just graduated college, 22 years old, and he ran like a 7:45 mile and a half. That was impressive, and crushed everything else, 20 plus, everything like that. So just because you're a big guy doesn't mean you're going to suck on the PST. And just because you're a short guy doesn't mean you're going to be slow on the PST. I've had guys sub 8 that were, you know, 5'4", 5'5". So, all right, guys, I got to go. I will see you guys next week, but look for our podcast that we'll have later this week. It'll be up on YouTube, as well as I'll post it up on Instagram, and it'll be where you find podcasts. Tactical Fitness Report is one of our podcasts. All right, guys, I got to run. If I missed your question, just email me, stu@stewsmith.com. And if you need to get better at running, swimming, calisthenics, go to stewsmithfitness.com and check out all those articles. I got a CSS help series for swimming, got running plans to get you through to and through buds, or selections, and they're just articles that are for free, plus programs like these that get you to and through as well. All right, guys, we'll see you. Got to run.